Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk. And today I'm going to talk about Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. I've read companion novels before, but let me tell you that this is by far my favorite. The way that Colleen Hoover writes companion novels should be how everyone writes companion novels. End of story, game over, period, fin. Writers, take note of this woman's awesomeness. I'm going to walk you through all of the new parts, all the old parts that have little Dean Holder pieces in there that we didn't get to see before. We are walked through so many new scenes and things that have happened in the past, and yet it's still present tense companion novel, but we just get little flashbacks and we get these really beautiful letters. And there are new parts. There is a big fucking new part that I cannot even begin to tell you that just had me in fucking tears, shouting at my book. I cannot even get into it without spoiling that. So that being said, if you don't want to know that, you shouldn't watch this because I am going to talk that. Though first, I still will give a generally spoiler-free summary. I will end up giving a couple details, but nothing major. So continue at your own risk, but I'll tell you when I start really getting into spoilers so that you can go away if you don't want to know. But first, can we just talk about how gorgeous Griffin Peterson is? I mean, seriously. I've heard from Colleen Hoover that he's just this really humble, great guy, and I already know that he's a great musician. I think he was perfect for this cover. I love the touch of the bracelet on here, and I just love this cover. We're walked through the night that Les killed herself and the events leading up to that and the immense guilt that Holder feels for it. And then when he found her, and got everything after that, I was just in tears. I'm gonna read you this part because there's no possible way to summarize what this means. You would think a person could only die once. You would think you would only find your sister's lifeless body once. You would think you would only have to watch your mother's reaction once after finding out her only daughter is dead. Once is far from accurate. It happens repeatedly. Every single time I close my eyes, I see Les's eyes. Every time my mother looks at me, she's watching me tell her that her daughter is dead for the second time, for the third time, for the 1000th time. Every time I take a breath or blink or speak, I experience her death all over again. I don't sit here wondering if the fact that she's dead will ever sink in. I sit here and wonder when I'll stop having to watch her die. And then Holder finds a journal of hers that her therapist wanted her to write in, but she, I guess, never did. And he starts writing letters to her, because he wants her to know how selfish it was of her, knowing that he was the one that would find her, and how incredibly sorry he was. Then he goes on to say, you know, I never really knew what it meant to actually be devastated. I thought we were devastated after we lost hope. What happened to her was definitely tragic for us, but the way we felt was nothing compared to how you've made Mom feel. She's so incredibly devastated. She gives the word a whole new meaning. I wish the use of the word could be restricted to situations like this. It's absurd that people are allowed to use it to describe anything other than how a mother feels when she loses her child, because that's the only situation in the entire world worthy of the term. The only thing close enough to loss that Holder has ever experienced is when they lost hope, and he tries to compare how it was losing hope to how he can expect it to be now that he's lost Les, even though it's not the same thing. That's just the only thing he can compare it to. Every single thing I think or see or do or say reminds me of Les. Then every single time I'm reminded of Les, it leads to thoughts of hope. Then every single time I think about hope, I'm reminded about how I let them down. I failed them both. They were talking text here like WTF, OMG, IDK, all that. Oh God, stop, she says. You speaking in abbreviated text form is really unattractive, and I have a story to tell you guys about speaking in abbreviated text language. So my brother, because I am just like that, if you say OMG verbally out loud, I will hit you over the head with a dictionary, okay? I don't care if that's a word in the dictionary. It shouldn't be, all right? But point being, is so annoying. It's so annoying, okay? And to annoy me, he says, instead of laughing, LOL. And so, when there's a joke, I mean, he's good at this. Every single time there would be a situation in which he would laugh, he just goes, LOL. And I'm just like, are you serious? And I start laughing, and I'm just like, stop saying that. And he'll go, LOL. And yeah, abbreviated text language story, sorry. I thought that was a funny thing to add. Daniel. I fucking love Daniel so much. And I'm gonna explain to you why. The lunch scene, what he did at lunch, it was just amazing. And he is such a good friend. And I'm gonna read you a couple little lines from them too, because they are hilarious. And I wanna leave you guys with something a little bit funny. What do you wanna do tonight? I read Daniel's text and respond, sorry, plants. What the fuck, puss slap? No, me, you, plants. Can't. Pretty sure I have a date. Sky? Yep. Can I come? Nope. Can I be your date next Saturday then? Sure, babe. Can't wait, sugar. And then Daniel says, see you later, butt shark. You're really being a mangina. Yo, Flipdick, we on for tonight? Now you guys understand my love for Daniel and you can look forward to it. If you guys haven't read it, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys now. I don't want to spoil you on the big freaking shocking detail of this that I can't. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys now because I really want to talk about that and get into every single little nitty gritty detail. This will probably be a really long video, but I just cannot bring myself to skip anything. So I'll see you later when you have read it. Bye. I know I am reading quite a bit from this, but these letters, there is just literally no way to explain what's in them without reading them verbatim. Oh my fuck this. I wonder if it's possible for people to fall in love with a person one characteristic at a time, or if you fall for the entire person at once. But I think I just fell in love with her wit and her bluntness, and maybe even her mouth, but I won't allow myself to stare long enough to confirm. That day at the grocery store when Holder sees Sky and he follows her out and he just can't believe that it's Hope. And he's just like, my heart stops and time stops, and I recognize her nose, I know her eyes, I know her face. And he kind of just wants to shout, Hope, it's me, it's Dean. But she doesn't recognize him, and his heart is just broken when she gives him her ID and doesn't say Hope. And then she sees his tattoo, and he's just like, if she doesn't recognize the name that I gave them, how can she be Hope? Okay, and I was spazzing the hell out at this point, like spazzing the hell out. Like, I did not know what I just read, and I know I just read it, and I was just freaking out, and I'm still kind of not forming words correctly on it, but holy shit. You know the book that Sky was reading? Guess what book it was? Slammed. There aren't words. I was so excited for that. Oh my god. When Dean described Sky, godless, I can't even explain to you how perfect this girl is. And when I say perfect, I mean imperfect. Because there's just so much wrong with her, but everything wrong with her is everything that draws me in and makes her perfect. She's flat out rude to me and I love it. She's stubborn and I love it. She's a smartass and she's sarcastic, and every witty thing that comes out of her mouth is like music to my ears because that's exactly what I want. She's what I want, what I need, and I don't want to change her at all. And I just loved that. Dean Holder. My heart. I'm pretty sure it's too soon to love her, but shit. She's got to stop doing and saying these unexpected things that make me want to fast forward whatever's going on between us. Because I want to kiss her and make love to her and marry her and make her have my babies, and I want it all to happen tonight. So when Holder explains to Sky that she reminded him of his sister, then he thinks, should I really tell her how that made me feel? How I thought for sure Les had something to do with it, or that it was divine intervention or a freaking miracle? Because I honestly feel like it was too perfect to be chalked up to coincidence. It's not coincidence. I'm the fate girl, remember guys? And just nothing is just happenstance. So then we're having one of these remember when moments, and this broke my heart. And he's writing to Les and he's saying how that one time when he was at Disneyland and he thought he heard Hope. Dean, she yelled. She sounded really far away, but I knew it was her because she said it with that accent of hers. She's always dragged out the middle of my name and made it longer than one syllable. I always liked how she said my name, so hearing her yelling it, I knew it was her. She must have spotted me and now she was trying to call for me to come help her. Dean, she yelled again. I started running toward the back of the line toward the sound of her voice. I was yelling her name, hoping that she would hear me and walk toward the sound of my voice. God bless, I was so excited. I was terrified and excited that I knew that all her prayers had been answered, but it was up to me to hurry up and find her, and I was scared I wouldn't be able to. She was here and I couldn't get to her fast enough. She would yell my name and then I would yell her name, and this went on for what felt like forever until someone grabbed my arm and yanked it. My mom threw her arms around me and hugged me, and I was trying to get out of her grasp. Dean, you can't run off like that, she said. I pointed toward her direction. I wanted to run. It's Hope, Mom. I found Hope. We have to go to her before I lose her again. Sadness instantly reached her eyes and I knew she didn't believe me. Dean, she whispered, shaking her head sympathetically. Sweetie. She felt sorry for me. She didn't believe me because it wasn't the first time I thought I found her, but I knew I was right this time. I knew it. Mom's eyes darted toward the voice, and I knew she heard her calling for me too. We have to find her, Mom, I pleaded. It's her. That's Hope. We were both calling her name, and now I remember looking at Mom at one point, watching her while she helped me search. I loved her more than I had ever loved her in that moment because she actually believed me. I pushed through the crowd, and that's when I saw her. Her back was to us, and she was standing all by herself. Dean, she yelled again. Mom and I were both frozen. We couldn't believe it. She was standing right in front of us looking for me. After 2 years of not knowing who took her and where she was, we had finally found her. I started to walk forward, but I suddenly was shoved aside by a teenage boy rushing toward her. When he reached her, he grabbed her by the arm and spun her around. Ashley, thank God, he said, pulling her to him. She pulled her tear-streaked face away from his chest and glanced in our direction. She wasn't Hope. She wasn't Hope at all. And I wasn't the Dean she was looking for. A sob broke free from my chest and I cried. I cried so damn hard. Les, Mom wrapped her arms around me and she started crying too, because I don't think she knew that an 8-year-old could have his heart crushed like that. But I was crushed. My heart was broke all over again that day, and I never wanted to hear the name Dean again. the bracelet scene at lunch. And so after this, Brecken is pissed at Holder, and rightfully so. And he has this whole long spiel about how he fucked up big time. And he says how Skye deserves someone who appreciates her, someone who would never crush her hope and then just walk away. And he said crush her hope because hopeless, and he is damn smart to have said it that way, because that is exactly what would have got to him. And Holder made a list of the pros and cons of telling Skye that she's hope. And I love that there was this hugely long list of pros and cons, because it really shows his struggle. When he looked at the back of Les's notebook and it said, "Dear Holder, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry." And no, it cannot be her suicide note. I'm not ready to read that. When we did read it, I wasn't ready to read that. We have a couple of these really beautiful scenes that are like past tense things, and this is my favorite past tense scene involving Les. He remembered the time that Les was explaining with her girlfriends, and he overheard the rules of make-out clothes. And they said it was easy access. And he says, "I remember waiting in the living room after hearing that conversation to see which outfit Les chose. She walked down the stairs in a skirt, and I marched her right back up to the room and forced her to change into a pair of jeans." And he is such a good brother. And I hate that he doesn't see that. And then when Skye said, "I live you, Dean Holder," and he's like, I exhale and exhale and exhale, and I repeat the sentence silently in my head. "I live you, Dean Holder." It's the first time I've heard her say Dean. It's also the first time I've ever had my heart impaled by a word before. I stare at her for several seconds, and then I have to lower my cheek to hers again. I want to kiss her, but I keep my cheek firmly pressed against hers because I don't want her to see the tears in my eyes. I don't want her to see how much it hurts to know that she can be this close to me and somehow not remember me. And that was the night that he realized he's loved Hope since he was a kid. But tonight was when he fell in love with Skye. That first night that she went to her childhood home, and then they came back to the hotel, and she had freaked out and broke mirrors because she remembered everything. And she's just begging him to have sex with her. The reason that he has sex with her is because he says, "I'll do whatever it takes to take away her pain, even if it's that." He doesn't want it to be like this for her. And never does he think for us or for me, it's for her, because he's always so concerned about her. But he feels like he's taking advantage of her, and that's exactly why he stops. Him doing this makes him feel like he's no better than her father, and I was pissed at Skye for this because she was being selfish and she didn't think about him. And that's all he was doing, was thinking about her. And then after he tells her that he loves her and they're about to have sex, and then she says, "I love you, Holder, so much. And just so you know, so did Hope." As soon as those words leave her mouth, I'm completely consumed by a sense of peace. For the first time since the second she was taken from me, I finally know what forgiveness feels like. When they're talking with her father and he says that he touched Les, and Holder just checks out. He remembers telling his mother that she was dead. She gave the word devastated a whole new meaning. I truly believed at that point that the word devastated should be reserved for mothers. I no longer believe that. The word devastated should be reserved for brothers too. And then he's the reason for everything. He's the reason that Les killed herself. He's what broke Hope. He's the reason for everything. And he's just like, I want him dead, and he wants to be the one to do it. And then when he takes the gun and shoots himself, his first thoughts, realizing beforehand what he was about to do, he doesn't think, I don't get to kill him, or I don't get to make him suffer. He doesn't think that. He thinks, no, not in front of Skye. This very well may be my favorite line from the book. "I used to think the best part of me died with Les, but the best part of me is standing right here in front of me." Les' suicide letter. "I accept that whatever dignity that I have left is about to go up in flames." Les says how Hope getting into that car was the best thing that ever could have happened to her. And then she tells him when she walked into Hope's father's house and she was going to help put up flyers to find Hope. He continued to violate her for years until she finally broke down and told her mother. And she immediately went to the police, and basically the investigation was shelved. And this is the same thing that happened with Karen, and there's literally no justice. And then she says that Mom didn't want you to find out what happened to me. She was afraid of what it would do to you. We both saw how much you blamed yourself for what happened to Hope, but she didn't want you to see you hurt anymore. How could they not tell him now, after all of these years? I knew that if I just confessed to you what I'm about to tell you, it would have relieved so much agony. But I couldn't. I couldn't find a way to tell you that Hope was alive, that she was okay, and Mom and I saw her once about 3 years ago. I was 14 and we were eating at a restaurant, just Mom and me. And I looked up and I saw her walking through the door. And Les whispered her name because they were seated right next to her. But Skye didn't hear her. But Karen did. And they walked out of the restaurant and they rushed after her outside and they got to the car, and then the woman turned around and faced her mom. And she said, please, the woman begged. She didn't say anything after that. Mom stared at her for a while without saying anything in return. I just stood there trying to understand what was happening. Did you take her? Mom finally asked. The woman began to cry and kept shaking her head. Please, she cried. She can't go back to him. Please don't do that to her, please. And they watched them drive away. I am just so mad that they didn't say anything to Holder. I mean, he's perfectly okay with this. I am furious. You know how Holder would always write in these letters to her, like, you knew I would find you. How could you not think about what it would do to me and Mom and Dad and everybody after? And she explains it. It's hard to empathize with what you'll experience after I'm gone. I don't remember what it's like to care enough about life that the thought of death could destroy me. So I need you to know that I'm sorry, but I can't help it. I've been let down by this life one too many times, and quite frankly, I'm tired of losing hope. I love you more than you know. P.S. All those nights you helped me and just let me cry. You have no idea how many times you've already saved me. And he goes to his mom and she's just like, please don't hate me. And he's just like, I'm so glad you knew, Mom. And I mean, I understand what he means by that. I'm glad that she knew about what the Hope's father did to Les. I completely agree with that. But the fact that she kept it a secret that Hope was alive from him. I mean, he's been looking for so long, and he just has looked at everybody's face throughout the years to see if it's Hope. I just cannot understand how you could keep that a secret. So Sky, Dean, and his mom pack up Les's room. And he keeps a box, and I'm glad because I'm sentimental like that and I could never just give everything away. And when he walks out of her room and he looks at her bed, he doesn't see her lying there dead. He sees her smiling. And the ending. He asks, will you do me a favor? Holder says, from now on, I want you to call me Dean. I want to know all your favorite parts down there in the comments and how you felt with the shock of it all, and I want to know your favorite quotes. I just want to know your feels. I will see you guys later next time on Bookworms Talk. Bye!
I wanna hold